All praise is due to Allah and the person of Master Muhammad. My name is Brother Minister YaSin Allah, and I'm here again to deliver the preachings and teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, that the black man is God, the white man is the devil, and that we're living in the judgment or the change of worlds, that the old wicked world of the white man is going out and the new world of the black man is coming in. The world of freedom, justice, and equality. Alhamdulillah. Our subject today is very timely and very important, and it's taken from an 1971 article written by the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. But before we get into it, I'd like to open up in the name of Allah and the person of Master Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come, to restore us who are lost from our own, the kingdom of Islam, and to destroy those who have destroyed us. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, peace. Again, my name is Brother Minister YaSin Allah, and our subject matter today is an article, 1971 article, February 5th, 1971 article by the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, entitled "The REJECTOR The World." And of course, this article appeared in Mr. Muhammad's paper called Muhammad Speaks. And before we get into the article, I'd just like to say there's much going on in the world, as we see that the white man's world is going out with a great noise, with a great confusion, with a great commotion. You got Trump, you got North Korea, you have hurricanes, you have natural disasters, you got wars and rumors of wars, you have diseases. I think there was a report in Madagascar off the coast of Africa, the east coast of Africa, that bubonic plague is spreading on that island. So there's much going on in the world. Mass shootings. We all heard about the same old white man who decided to just kill almost 60 people and wound hundreds with automatic rifle fire, assault rifle fire. So let's get into our subject matter and bear in mind all the things that's going on in the world that signify, that show us that this world is on its way out. The REJECTOR The World. It is a must that we understand, if we, the black people of the world, and especially here in America, expect to survive the great destruction of the world that we have known. Again, and in other words, don't think that this white man's world, as stupendous and great as it is in terms of technology and things of that nature, is here forever, that is permanent. It is not permanent. This world is temporary, and we as the black people in the wilderness of North America and worldwide must understand this. It is a must that we learn that we, the black man in America, belong to the black nation of the earth from the very beginning of the creation of the heavens and earth. Alhamdulillah. It is incumbent upon black people, especially the black man in America, to understand that we are descendants of the first one who set creation in motion, that first God, or God, whose proper name is Allah. We are his descendants. We come from him in the creation of the universe. So we should be mindful, we should be grateful, we should be very happy that we are from the original people of the universe, not just the planet, but of the universe, of the universal order of things. It is a must that we learn that the creator of the heavens and the earth was black. In the beginning was darkness. The Bible tells us this, the Quran tells us this. Triple darkness in chapter 39 of the Quran. And that therefore, because the self-created one, the first one, created himself in darkness, he's black. Yeah, alhamdulillah. And light was brought in trillions of years later after his creation, and because he was black, his descendants are black. This is why the importance and the significance of being black. I was calling a brother black man one day, and he got offended because he was apparently led to believe that black was something negative. And I took a few minutes to explain some of these things to him, and his attitude changed. We should all be proud of being black. Of course, we know some of us who really understand, this was all part of Mr. Muhammad beginning the black consciousness movement, or what the white man used to call black supremacy. Alhamdulillah. But just to reiterate, just to repeat myself in terms of blackness, the first one created himself in darkness, so therefore he was dark. And his descendants are dark. And you can find a good explanation of this, and our Savior has arrived in the February 26, 1969 Savior Day address that's in that book. It is a must that we learn that we, the black people, were once black slaves here in America. We were brought here by the white Englishman by the name of John Hawkins. So Almighty God, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, taught me. Sometimes I think black people forget the original reason or purpose how black people got to this continent. And we were kidnapped from Africa and brought here over 400 years ago. And it was a brutal enterprise. And we should study this, and we should understand that. And in bringing us here, they made us into something called Negroes, which is a name they made up, which means dead, from the Greek word Negro, which means dead. They made us tools for their use, and made us a people who were dependent on white people for everything, especially the necessities of life. And John Hawkins, you can find him in white people's books. There's no mystery about his history and who he was. He was an Englishman, a seaman, who was actually one of, he worked with the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth of England, and Francis Drake. They were all partners together in formulating the English slave trade. At first, the English were not involved in the African slave trade, but John Hawkins and Francis Drake were pirates, Caribbean pirates, believe it or not. True history, and all this could be verified in white people's books. And they used to sail the Caribbean and rob the Spanish of their slaves and other valuables in the Caribbean. And while doing this, they discovered how lucrative the African slave trade was, and decided to go into that business themselves. So they went to the Queen of England at that time, Queen Elizabeth, who gets all these accolades as being this righteous and holy and special English monarch. And she funded their enterprise to start the English African slave trade. Praise be to Allah. And as we know from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said that we are taught that he captured 21 black people, the first ones that came here, 10 men and 11 women, and they sailed on this ship called the Ship Jesus, or the Good Ship Jesus. And they sailed across the Atlantic and landed at the English colony in Virginia in Jamestown. And that began the nightmare for black people in the wilderness of North America, the beginning of the English slave trade. Praise be to Allah. And all this could be verified in, again, white man's books. If you don't believe in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or if you think that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if you wrongly think that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad engaged in myth and exaggeration and lies, check it out for yourself. Get some books by white people so you can verify these things and understand that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't teach us nothing but the truth. It is a must that we learn that Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, is God, and he spent 3.5 years, 3 years, day and night, teaching me what I am teaching you in the world of black man, the aboriginal people of the heavens and the earth. Master Farad Muhammad is the one that both the Bible and Quran prophesied that God would come and establish his kingdom on earth. And again, this is a very important point, and there is much confusion on it about the coming of God, because white people have misinterpreted the scriptures, and some of the Arab scholars have followed them in that misinterpretation to think that you see God when you die if you go to heaven, or you go to the hereafter, then you will see God. But that's a gross misinterpretation, because both books teach that in the resurrection, God will appear, make himself known, and raise his people. And Master Farad Muhammad is that specially prepared man to do that work, to fulfill that history. And of course, like practically everything that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, the white man either denied it himself or sent his magicians, his imps, black people to denounce and deny the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to mislead the masses of black people not to believe in Mr. Muhammad's teachings. But I would appeal to you, I would urge you, if you have any questions or if you are inclined to think that there may be something in Mr. Muhammad's teachings, do your own research. Look into it yourself. Pick up Mr. Muhammad's books and study them. And you will see, number one, that there is nothing negative said about black people, except that we have been destroyed by the white man and made lazy and dependent on the white man. But in terms of who we are, in terms of our birthright, that we are the true descendants of God himself, Allah in person, or again from that first one who created the heavens and the earth, then you'll find this in Mr. Muhammad's teachings very clearly. So do your own research and come to the conclusion that Mr. Muhammad is the last messenger of Allah sent by Master Farad Muhammad to teach us nothing but the truth. Don't think that the white man is going to teach you who you really are. As I said last week, quoting the great Marcus Garvey, only a fool would think that another race of people would give you the knowledge and information to make you greater than them. That's the way a fool thinks, and that's the way black people think, that for some reason white people is going to elevate us over them. That's never going to happen. Master Farad Muhammad is the true God, the God that the world been waiting for, that God is a man. Don't think that God is in the sky. Again, this is the white man's interpretation of what Mr. Muhammad called the mystery God. We don't believe in a mystery God, that God is in the sky somewhere in space, and that he's looking down on us and knowing everything we think and hear. No, that's again a white man's misinterpretation, a white man's fantasy, a white man's myth about the nature of God. The true nature of God is that God is a man, a black man, always was and always will be. And that the first one set creation in motion, and before he died, and Mr. Muhammad was very explicit on this, no God lives forever, that he reproduced himself, and the gods that came after him continued in building the universe. And that we, the black man, that creation itself, and black people have been undergoing a process of perfection based on the Arabic word or name Rab, nourisher unto perfection. We have been going through stages of perfection for trillions of years to become perfected man. And we are at this particular stage now in our history where we are being perfected to go to another level or enter a new era in our history. Alhamdulillah, that Master Farad Muhammad, the true workings of the gods is that they're 24 scientists, and that they choose to judge among them. Yes, this is the true knowledge of God. And there are many examples you find in the Bible about the 24 elders, and the Lamb was chosen to be to sit on the throne. Alhamdulillah, the Christ, the Mahdi as the Muslims call it. That's in terms of we can go into deeper science in terms of Mr. Muhammad's place in this history, but nonetheless, Master Farad Muhammad was raised by the 23 scientists. He became the 24th scientist, and when he came to the wilderness of North America, he raised and met and raised the 25th scientist, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we'll have some more to say on that toward the end of this video, alhamdulillah. But understand that Master Farah Muhammad is the God that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us, and Master Farah Muhammad's teachings will last for 1,000 years. That's what the Christians mean when they say that Christ's reign will reign for 1,000 years. We are under Master Farah Muhammad's teachings for 1,000 years. And in all my years in Islam, I have yet to see anybody come up with any wisdom, knowledge, understanding that's superior to what Master Farah Muhammad taught the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. As an example, that we are under Master Farah Muhammad's wisdom for 1,000 years and no one else's. Mr. Muhammad said that we were aboriginal people. A-B, aboriginal people, meaning that we are from the original. Again, a very important point. We are created people from the original. It is a must that we learn that we, the black people, are the real owners of the earth, and that there are no people before us. We are the first and the last. Praise be to Allah, the first and the last. There's no people, no creation before the present creation. We come from the Creator. We are the first people, we are the last people. And if you study, read books, there's plenty of books, again, by white people. If you're skeptical about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, read books by white people. White people themselves will tell you. Anacalypsis by Godfrey Higgins. Read Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man by Godfrey Higgins, a 19th century Masonic scholar, high Masonic scholar from England. He wrote Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man, Origin and Evolution of Freemasonry, Origin and Evolution of the Human Race. Those books are very clear, explicit, that the black man is the original man. Gerald Massey, who wasn't a Mason, I think he was a protege of Church Ward, he wrote Book of the Beginnings, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, all explaining, going into his researches, his investigations, that yeah, the black man is the original man, the first man on the planet. Alhamdulillah. Study, do your own research if you are skeptical about the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. And if you are a believer in the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, if you are a follower of the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, do research so you can support the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you can shut the naysayers up when they start, trying to denounce what Mr. Muhammad taught us. It is a must that we learn that the reason that I use the words first and last is because of the intervention of another people who ruled for the past 6,000 years. Some of us do not take a thought that 6,000 years is a very long period of time. It is not a short period of time. It is a short period of time when it is compared to our history. For in comparison, it would hardly take up a minute of time in our history. The intervention of a people, the white man. The white man only been here 6,000 years. And that's the true meaning of the Bible and the Quran. Adam, that we read about in both books, is actually referring to the making of the white man and giving him the power to rule the earth for 6,000 years, to have power over the black nation. And that, yes, 6,000 years is a long time, but if you compare that to the trillions of years that the black man, that creation has been in existence, 6,000 years is nothing. Hence, Mr. Muhammad in different articles and writings called the white man, he's a baby compared to, the history of the black man. Yet we follow the baby. And that's his job, to deceive us, to trick us into following him. However, when we receive supreme wisdom as taught by the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, that wakes us up. That teaches us who we're supposed to follow. And that definitely not following the black man. Excuse me, definitely not following the white man, but we should be following our own. Allowing the person of Master Farad Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. Our lessons clearly teaches that Islam has no beginning or ending. He said we the first and the last, whenever that is. It is a must, and we should be the most happy people that the world has ever seen now that have the knowledge of self after slavery to a strange people. Strangers to us and our fathers, as the Bible makes a parable of us as a prodigal son who had left his home and went into a far country to fall victim to the service of a strange people. The prodigal son is a parable, and I think in every video that I've done thus far, I've mentioned the prodigal son, which is a beautiful parable in the Bible, 15th chapter Luke. And he left his father's house to go live among strange people and live a riotous life, as the King James Version of the Bible writes it. And eventually he came home, back home to his father, and received this big celebration because he was the lost found. He was the one that was lost, but now he was found. He was back with his father. He was back with the family. He returned to the family of God. Alhamdulillah. That's the black man and black woman here in the wilderness of North America. We the fulfillment of the prodigal son. It is a must that we should be happy, for the Bible, Isaiah, reminds us that we should be a happy and a rejoiceful people because the light of truth has come to us. This means that the prophet understands that this light of truth is in our favor and that it will bring about a total change of our life. So I believe in chapter 60 of Isaiah, rise and shine, because the light of truth has come. The light of Allah and the person of Master Farad Muhammad, which illuminates darkness. Under the white man's rule, we had darkness. There's no truth, real truth, divine truth, spiritual truth living in the white man's world, because he can't reveal who he is and who we are. Light didn't come into the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, came to us. Now it's time to rise and shine. We've been asleep. But the prophets taught, as Mr. Muhammad said, represent the light of the moon in darkness. You get the full moon and you get just a little light, not much. That's the prophet knowledge. But when God comes, now that's symbolic to the sun, to the dawning of a new day, when everything is bright and clear. When the truth is bright and clear. The prophet refers to the same light of truth as helping the white slave master's children to understand, and he uses these terms: a light to lighten the Gentiles. Oh, so the white man himself is even going to get some benefit in terms of understanding the time that we're living in under the teachings of Allah and the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Not that it's for them, but when truth comes, it benefits everyone. Gentiles meaning heathen or pagan people. When you read the Bible, the Gentiles refer to Caucasian people that were not followers of Moses, alhamdulillah, commonly known as the Jews. Because remember, Moses' teachings, Musa's teachings, is really Islam. There's nothing but Islam, but it was a special kind of Islam made for white people to bring them up out of the caves and hillsides of Europe. And those white people, like the Romans historically, like the Romans, the Greeks, they didn't ascribe to Moses' teachings. Moses' teachings didn't really touch them. And there's some history that even the Jews had, were manipulating them. But nonetheless, so they referred to as Gentiles and pagans and other European people who are non-Jews or followers of Moses. It is a must that we rise. At the present time, there are so many of our people who are only moving spiritually to the knowledge of the rise. But every hour of every day, you and I are bearing witness that this is the resurrection of black people in America who were made most ignorant of self and others of all the people of the earth. We must rise up. This is the resurrection. As we're going to learn in a few minutes, resurrection means to rise up. This is the resurrection of the dead. Don't think that the resurrection of the dead is dead bodies coming out the ground. Again, that's another gross misinterpretation of the meaning of the scriptures by white people in order to mislead us, deceive us. And just to put it another way, how could people who were lost in the caves and hillsides of Europe just 4,000 years ago become authorities on the scriptures, on the true science of God? Think about that. We must have the knowledge of our God. The black man in America had the knowledge of their God completely stripped from them as a hide stripped off an animal destined for your and my table. The prophets and even God himself named us dead. The slave experience is that the white man robbed us of the knowledge of self. Remember, we had Islam. Many of the black people who were kidnapped to the wilderness in North America had Islam. Islam had come to West Africa hundreds of years before the European slave trade. Remember that. Again, there are books on this. You know, if you don't believe the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, and if we just want to use, you know, that particular portion of our history, that we were Muslim, that we believed in Allah God. I mean, you know, you got that famous depiction in Alex Haley's book and movie Roots when Kunta Kinte first came. He was, you know, trying to make salat. He was Muslim. He didn't eat swine. But the Negroes, the black slave who had been made into Negroes, was telling them that, you know, the master don't allow that. Hence, over the, you know, decades and generations, we as black people, you know, forgot Islam until the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad came to us. It is a must that we receive life again in order to be able to go for self. When the white man robbed the black man of knowledge of self, that made us walking dead people. You know, sometimes it's, you know, one wonders, you know, the fascination with Hollywood in terms of the walking dead and zombies and, you know, things of that nature. You know, is this, you know, their symbolic way of depicting black people? We the walking dead. This is who the scriptures are referring to as being deaf, dumb, and blind. And that the dead coming out the graves once they hear the truth, once they hear the sound of truth. It is a must that we praise Allah God. Let us say all praises to Allah God in the person of Master Farah Muhammad, whom the Christian world has been looking for to come for the last 2,000 years. Christians looking for the return of Christ according to their Bible. That's Allah in the person of Master Farah Muhammad. Don't think that Jesus is 2,000 years ago is coming back 2,000, you know, again 2,000 years later to set the world right, as Mr. Muhammad said. And it's not me, I'm quoting him. You know, only a fool would think something like that, that a prophet of God could be killed, ascend to heaven in space, and reside there 2,000 years, and then return to earth and set the world right. Again, only a fool would think something like that. And, you know, unfortunately, yes, the white man has made the black man into a fool. Let's stop being fools and follow and learn and follow the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. The Muslim world has also been looking for the great supreme being to appear among us in this time. Not for the past 2,000 years, but they have been looking for this since the rising up of Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, over 1,300 years ago in Arabia. So the Muslims in Islam, they call this one, the expected one, the Mahdi. The Mahdiya. This is the Muslims. All religions, if you really understand the major religions, they're all looking for God to appear in person, and we living in this day and time. And we are the recipients. We are the ones that God came for. Yet we rejecting our own God. And it was prophesied that we would reject Master Farad Muhammad, because in Prophet Muhammad's hadiths, which were compiled after him by different scholars, Bukhari and Muslim and others, it's recorded that Allah will come in person in the resurrection, and that the people would deny him and reject him, and that he would leave and then he would return later on and the people would accept him. We living in this day and time now. I mean, Master Farad Muhammad, in addition to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has been rejected by our people. Our people have been rejected. His own many of the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad rejected Master Farad Muhammad. If you understand our history, we're not going to go into that particular aspect or subject, but you know, it's an important subject, and perhaps we should you know, speak about it. But Master Farad Muhammad has definitely been rejected. We must unite. The only things that now prevent us from getting together, doing for ourselves, is the foolish way of thinking of those who have not the spirit of life, of resurrection. Brothers and sisters, you know, the black man gonna find a way to be divided over something. We always gonna find a way to be divided. That's because we don't have the spirit, the true spirit of the resurrection in us. Not yet. When the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad came to us, in a place like the city of Newark, you know, the teachings set this city on fire. You know, there was movement, there was excitement. You know, people was bearing witness to the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. But shortly thereafter, division set in. There was always some reason why we had to be divided. And of course, this happened all over the country. You know, you had the Panthers who were divided. You know, they were, you know, inspired by the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Huey Newton admitted that. Instead of, you know, joining on to the teachings, he decided to form his own organization, the Black Panthers. That was division. I mean, they had, you know, admirable goals and things of that nature, but nonetheless, you know, it was division. Malcolm, you know, separated from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for, you know, various reasons. We're not going into Malcolm's history, but all that's division. You know, and we can go on. And, you know, as I'm thinking about it, yeah, we need to really go over this history, because we got all these different aspects of division within the teachings of Elijah Muhammad alone. That's not even talking about, you know, in the Christian world, the civil rights movement, the integration movement, and all these other things that got black people divided. Alhamdulillah. And we need to get out of that. We have to get out of that if we're going to survive, you know, what's coming, what's here now, the destruction and fall of America. We got to get out of that. And we got to recognize that first, and we got to talk about that, and we have to find ways to come together. We must rise up. It is the cry now all over America and the earth, since the knowledge of you and me has come from Almighty God Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Again, we must rise up. We laying down now. You know, we're not doing anything. We're not taking advantage of the opportunities that's available to us to, you know, become the people, you know, to follow our birthright, to live up to our birthright. You must, I want you to remember forever that it is not I who is teaching you these great things. It is Master Farad Muhammad, God in person, to whom praises are due forever. He is using me, as one of the prophets says, as the horn of his salvation. So as he is speaking through me to you, I am a human horn to him. Please listen, take advice, and live. Again, Mr. Muhammad always gave credit to the man that taught him, to the God that taught him. He never said, oh, this is mine. He never denied Master Farad Muhammad. He never denounced Master Farad Muhammad. Yet, within Mr. Muhammad's own followers, it's like a disease started and spread that we don't recognize Master Farad Muhammad's significance in the resurrection, our resurrection. And the man that we revere and follow repeatedly tells us that, look, what I teach you came from Master Farad Muhammad. So understand this. And of course, there's deeper science to the true identity of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, and we understand that, and we are proud of that history, but that doesn't negate Master Farad Muhammad's role in the resurrection. Let's not get confused and, you know, get off track, because we are very easily to, you know, to get off track, to get off the right path. It is a must that you get up and go to work for self today. And do you know where the unemployment office is, where you can get a job for self? It is our temple. That's the, you know, the true purpose of Muhammad's temple or Muhammad's mosque is to provide work, jobs, money for black people. But again, you know, the teachings fell off after Mr. Muhammad passed away. And no one, even Minister Farrakhan, and he's doing, you know, some really significant work, but really no one has been able to emulate or, you know, repeat, you know, the high level of success and influence that the teachers have among our people. You know, we have to bear witness to that. And that's not, you know, to denounce anyone's work or not recognize anyone's work, but, you know, the teachers don't have the influence the way they used to have, especially in the street. You know, what they call the grassroots. The teachers don't have that influence anymore. And that's our own fault, because we haven't been on our job. We haven't been where the truth is needed, where there's total darkness. You walk down some of these streets in a place like Newark, and, you know, there's nothing but darkness. You would think that Islam never touched this city, the way our people are living and, you know, our frame of mind. You go into the prisons. The teachers don't have the influence the way it was back in the day, back in the 60s and the early 70s. Whose fault is that? Think about it. Let's get on our job. Let's stand up. Let's rise up. Let's come together. A few of us here and a few of us over there really can't make a, you know, significant difference. True, I know Mr. Muhammad said that you don't need large numbers, but you do need some numbers in order to move forward and, you know, make an influence or to influence a people. So, you know, let's not overthink this thing either. We must go to the farm and grow our necessities of life like the white man did. At the present time, we have thousands of acres of farmland under cultivation, and we have more to put under cultivation. Food, clothing, and shelter. And to Minister Farrakhan's credit, you know, he has purchased, you know, the very farms that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had bought, and that when Imam Warifdeen Muhammad took over the nation, he sold off, and, you know, Minister Farrakhan bought these farms back or bought new farms. So, you know, we give him credit for that. You know, I see no one else doing anything like that. So, you know, let's give credit where credit is due in terms of providing the necessities of life. We must thank white Americans for selling us some of their land, although they sell it to us at an unjust price. They should give the black slaves some land, not to think of selling it to him. They should give it to him to see what he will do, to see if he is lazy or if he will get smart if you give him something to work for self. But we know that they envy the black slave of being self-producers. They should aid us in doing this, since we did it for them for centuries for nothing. Again, as Mr. Muhammad says in What the Muslims Want, you know, we want a separate state of territory, and that white America should help us for 20 years to get on our feet so we can go for self. And that Mr. Muhammad is here speaking about specifically when he bought the farmland in different places in the South, that they charged him very high prices, and that reparations, they owe us. There's a reparations movement in this country. But you know, Mr. Muhammad, if not the originator of the reparations movement, was you know, a major factor in spreading this idea to black people in America. Alhamdulillah. You know, we can go back to 40 acres and a mule if you want to take that route. You know, you got some people who are trying to prosecute a case that we never received 40 acres and a mule, as promised by one of Lincoln's generals after the Civil War. There was an order signed by one of his field commanders that after the black slave was freed from the Confederate slaveholders, that they had to have 40 acres and a mule and seed so they could feed themselves. But that order was countermanded somewhere along the way, and it never happened. Alhamdulillah. The only way now for us to get freedom, justice, and equality is for us to look forward in the hope of the merciful God Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises is due forever. We must, with the help and guidance of Allah God, go to the farm and produce from the earth our needs as the white man did. As I repeatedly said, they have proven that they were wise in seeking their living with the wealth out of which they walked and trampled upon the earth. Everything that we need in order to survive is here. It's the earth, but you have to work for it, to develop it, to produce it. And again, the white man took that out of the black man. He made us dependent on them for the necessities of life. We must remember that they, the white man, built for themselves the greatest civilization in 4,000 years that the earth has ever seen before. And that's a powerful statement. We, the black man, been here trillions of years, and Mr. Muhammad saying that this civilization that the white man built is the greatest civilization in 4,000 years that the world has ever seen. It's a powerful statement. Yes, and you know, they robbed, they killed, they took what they wanted. Yes, that's all part of their nature. But the point is that they did it. And now here's the very important point. Inspiration for those of us who are negative and pessimistic about us doing anything for self. We must remember that the white race is a new people which the earth had never seen. They spent 1/3 of their time in the caves of the earth, and in the dreaded, horrible wilderness of this earth, hills and caves of Europe. The white man was exiled to the caves and hillsides of Europe 6,000 years ago by the black nation, and they stayed there. They went savage, walking on all fours, eating raw meat, drinking blood, sleeping in caves and trees, not bathing, not having any type of science or civilization whatsoever, didn't have a use of fire. They lived like that for 2,000 years. And after Moses came to them 4,000 years ago, look at the civilization that they built. And again, yes, we understand that they lied, they cheated, they killed, they robbed, they raped, but nonetheless, they built this world. They used us, the black man, here in the wilderness of North America, as slaves to build America, the greatest of all the white man's civilizations. But he did it. He came from nothing to something. He was all fours. Now he's ruling the earth. Alhamdulillah. Now we, the black man, the best, the first and the last, we can't do anything for ourselves. It is a must. We must remember that they did all this by the knowledge of their God, Yaqub. What can we, the black people, do with the God who originated the heavens and earth, the guidance of the Father, of the maker of the white race? This is a question to you, but I will answer it myself. There is no limit to what we could do with Allah's God guidance, since there is no limit to Him. There is nothing that we can't do, because we come from the Father of creation. So as Mr. Muhammad taught us, impossible was destroyed when creation came into existence. Therefore, there is nothing impossible. There is nothing that we can't do. All we have to do is set about to do it. You know, we are the originators of the power of positive thinking. Not the white man, not Joe Osteen and the rest of them. The black man invented the power of positive thinking. Put the thought out there and it's going to materialize. whatever it is, good or bad, righteous or evil, big or small. It is a must that we get up and go to work for self and stop lying around the home of the white slave masters and begging him. It is a shame to lay around and beg him, and the shame shames us, who you see begging the white man for that which we can get together and do for ourselves. Basic message of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Do for self. Provide food, clothing, and shelter for yourself. Provide food for your wives and children. Clothes for your wives and children. And homes for your wives and children. Alhamdulillah. The basic message of the teachings of the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. Do for self. Alhamdulillah. Now, I'm getting ready to close the video out, but just want to say that Minister Farrakhan is scheduled to come to Newark, New Jersey next week. I believe it's October 16th. And it's a great honor for him to come here. He's celebrating his Day of Atonement when he had the first Million Man's March. And with the rich history of the city of Newark, New Jersey, remember that the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad gave Newark his number 25 in 1958. And he said that this was his miles, the model miles. He saw a fire and a spirit apparently in the followers that he had in Newark in that day and time that he didn't see anyplace else. And remember that Mr. Muhammad is the 25th scientist. That the 23 scientists raised Master Farad Muhammad, and he, Master Farad Muhammad, became the 24th scientist. And when Master Farad Muhammad came to the wilderness of North America and met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and taught him for three years and 3 or 4 months, that Mr. Muhammad became the 25th scientist, the true God, when you understand it. And Mr. Muhammad came to Newark in 1958 and gave Newark his number 25. He skipped over a number because by right, each temple was named in a sequential order. Newark was actually supposed to be 24, but he skipped 24 and gave us 25. And this is verified. You know, we credit Ali Mahdi Muhammad. He was the one that really put this knowledge out there. Of all the old followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this was never spoken about, at least publicly, or in a serious or comprehensive way. And Ali Mahdi Muhammad is the one that really put this out and made this public. And it's a very important point. And that we, the followers in Newark, New Jersey and surrounding area, should be very proud of this, and that we should live up to the high expectation that this is the model mosque. And in my investigations and researches, yes, it's true, but most of the old followers won't really talk about it in depth. Some of them will verify, yeah, it did happen in 1958, toward the end of that year, in either November or December. Mr. Muhammad visited the city of Newark at the Rickery Auditorium that was on Elizabeth Avenue near Clinton Avenue, and that in his speech or lecture to the followers in that day and time, that he gave Newark his number. And he had said some other things there too of significance. But that is a true happening. That is true. And again, we the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad should be very proud. And we should live up to, again, this the model or the the honor that has been bestowed upon us. And we should make sure that the people of Newark and surrounding areas understand this and know this, the significance of the city of Newark, New Jersey. But in doing this, before I close, we got to represent the teachings as well. And we haven't been doing that either. So, let's be mindful of what our duty and responsibility is. So in closing, I just want to read these last couple paragraphs. We must begin practicing the principles of that which makes us to be self-respected and respected by others. Nature forces us to respect the people who respect themselves. Come unite with me and set yourself in heaven at once, doing for self. Let's get united. Let's put all our differences aside and do for self so we could be respected, because we're not respected. Look how Trump disrespected the people of Puerto Rico, the Puerto Ricans, who, you know, are people of the black nation. And, you know, I look at that as being emblematic of the way white people in general look at black people. Oh, you begging for a handout, you breaking our budget, you know, we'll do what we can for you. You know, this is how they look at black people, as always wanting something they can't do for themselves. And, you know, believe me, I'm not saying Trump is right in his attitude, but this is the way white people look at black people. You know, let's break that stereotype. Let's break that image. You know, and show them what we could do, that we the true gods of the universe. Alhamdulillah. So without any further ado or delay, I'm going to close this out. I want to thank everyone who took the time out of their schedule, out of their day to view this video. And as I opened, I want to close in the name of Allah, the person of Master Farah Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come to restore us who were lost from our own, the kingdom of Islam, and to destroy those who have destroyed us. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, peace.